The Matchbox, number 71B, Jeep Gladiator. This is TimeRider, and this is the second oldest project that I had sitting on my bench. I restored one of these a while back, and I was going to do a custom on this one. And I lost a piece of it, a kind of important piece, and I couldn't find it. And I thought that I was never going to be able to finish it, so I just threw it in a container and set it on the back of the desk or whatever. And then I was cleaning one day, and I actually found the piece for this Matchbox in a tub for another Matchbox. At any rate, this is going to be a custom, and I apologize if some of the footage seems a little dated, because it is. This is all probably stuff I did a couple months back. Considering it's probably 50 years old, the casting on the toy was in very good condition. Everything was pretty straight. It was pretty chipped up. That black chassis piece was what I misplaced, so yeah, it would have been pretty important. They had bumpers painted, grills painted, headlights painted, sometimes the bumper, sometimes not the bumper, never the back bumper. Although I painted it on the custom here. Interior's white, sometimes they're green. Those are the ones that you're looking for. All in all, a really nicely done casting. Never made it to super fast, though. I have no footage of disassembly. There's that black piece that I lost, the chassis piece, but it's held together basically just by the one post and that little tab on the front. Little bit of the aerosol aircraft stripper that I still had on hand at the time. I don't use it anymore. Now, I just drop it into a bucket of stripper, I guess. But followed by a little bit of a bath with the good old hot soapy water to get the paint off. It actually came off really easy. And then it was on to priming it. Now, let me tell you, I painted this Jeep like 4 times. It was brown once, it was green once, it was, I don't know, it was like a cursed project. I know there's a lot of guys out there that make suspensions for these things, and, I appreciate the way they go about it, but it always seems like they look so fragile, and these are toys, and I want to make something that's going to be, nearly as potent as what Lesney put out there. Something that could be played with. I mean, it's not going to be, but that could be. So, yeah, I like to use a lot of resin and put stuff together. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm building a little shelf, and on that shelf, I'm going to put some epoxy resin, and then I'm going to put a clear steel axle on it. And the wheels that are on it are going to roll, and they're going to be rugged. And here's where I got to, and I'm sure some of you have seen this footage before, and this was my objective. My number one subscriber, Mike, calls it a honcho. Yeah. So hopefully this will be the last time I prime this. I'm using Tamiya Gray because I think there's something wrong with my white. And then I'm going to use the Tamiya translucent paints or clear paints. So I need to paint it silver. It needs to be silver. Or gold. But these paints just look better with some type of a metallic base. Well, after all the different colors I painted the doggone thing, I decided that Lesney had the right idea in the begin with, and that I was going to paint it red. So I'm going to throw a tack coat of clear red on here. And we'll do what we can about making this thing look real special. I typically let my tack coat dry for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll just start laying on successively heavier coats of paint. Sometimes I'll give it a rest and kind of do a second and third coat, with the third coat being a very wet coat. And sometimes if the paint is just applying nicely and I like the result I'm getting, I'll just continue painting until I get the end result that I'm looking for. Don't forget the bottom, Lee. So there was a part of the bottom that was going to be exposed because the chassis really only covered half of it. So rather than have a big blob of epoxy, I painted that area flat black. And then, of course, we need to give it some detailing on the front. I also painted the back bumpers, which is not traditional for these. I think you develop a bias to this too, where you like working from one side better than another. I'll show you a bit of this. I hold my breath a lot when I'm doing it. I usually put my brush down in the middle of where I'm working so that if I have any extra paint, it doesn't spill over onto the painted portion. And even at that, I still wound up having a couple of places on this, very small, that I had to do some touch-up. So at this point, we're going to go back to where we started from a couple, 3 months ago. Little bit chipped up. Other than that, not a bad model. You know, I know people do this for a lot of reasons. For me, it's really about toys. Maybe they're a piece of history, but they're certainly not a unique piece of history. There was millions of them made. It's not as if it's a rarefied object, so I never feel too bad about taking these apart. I know there's a lot of people that don't like it when we do this, but and I guess, you know, am I doing it for my own amusement, as somebody else suggested? Not me personally, but just generally speaking. Yeah, I guess I am. Take this 60-year-old toy that's somewhat beat up and turn it into something worth seeing. At least that's my goal. Enough rambling. Here we go. The Jeep, Matchbox Jeep 71B, Gladiator, Honcho, call it what you will. Stick around for the bench if you're interested in that kind of thing. This is TimeRider, and I'll leave the light on for you. Welcome to the bench. Well, I had a subscriber accuse me of putting up clickbait the other day. So here's the picture of my bench with me working on stuff. I'm not sure what the curiosity is about that. It's just an old desk. But anyway, let's get on to what I got going on that little bugger right there. So I'm continuing my work on this F1 Matchbox. I'm just trying to get rid of all the casting lines and smooth out the edges. The old Cutlass, I think I finally got the roof as smooth as I need it to be. And here I am laying some primer on it. I'll hopefully do some paint on it tomorrow. And thanks to everybody's input from my last episode of The Bench, It looks like construction vehicles won the day for our consortium it's turning into of restoration guys. We're going to be doing these cooperatives, and now including Nick at Matchbox Restoration and myself, there's going to be Rob from Matchbox Garage and George Hodges from the new channel that he set up, same location, but it's now called Hodges Hot Wheels and Diecast, because George dabbles in recreational outdoor vehicles. I don't know if he has snowmobiles. I think he has four-wheelers and three-wheelers though. But anyway, so stick around here if you want. I've had people ask me for the recipe for my cleaner, so I'm going to make a batch of cleaner, and then that's going to be it. Thanks for coming.